And hello, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, and I'm glad you joined me today because we're going to talk about something that needs to be talked about. It affects our economy, and it affects everybody around this economy. And it's about commercial real estate and the loans that banks have. For months now, I have been asking individuals in my blogs and vlogs and everything else, I have been asking how healthy are the banks. And we have an issue, and it might be a black swan issue. I don't know at the moment, but I think it might be. Where the banks have a lot of commercial real estate loans that are up for refinancing. And it's in the billions of dollars, I mean. And these billions of dollars are hinged around the bank approving loans on property who no longer have tenants. In other words, they have no cash flow coming in from tenants. So it's a risky situation for the bank. Now, there have been some commercial banks and hotels that own these properties who have given their properties back to the bank. They just can no longer afford them. They don't have the cash flow because they have no tenants in their buildings anymore to fund these loans, to pay back these loans with interest. So we have an issue. And how strong are the banks where they can sustain these types of, and it's going to be losses. They're going to be called losses. Right now we have banks that are losing their credit worthiness with Moody's and other credit rating things, and they're taking their businesses and calling them junk financial institutions. And that's not good. So we have to be concerned about this, because when banks start being turned back when commercial property begins to get turned back into the banks, what are they going to do with them? They don't have enough money coming in to sustain any revenue. So there's a problem. But we have to also look at the economics of this whole situation. So it affects the banks, makes the bank weaker, makes them almost a non-performing institution because they've got bad loans on their books. And they've now got property that it's going to take them a while to unload them. But they're going to still maintain them. So there's a big issue concerning the healthiness of these banks. But then we have to take a look at, since no one's going back into the offices, that hurts the cities. Why? Because taxes are generated from people being in those buildings. And if there's no people in those buildings, no businesses in those buildings, their tax flow goes down. Their cash flow goes down. Then you have all of the restaurants and small businesses that surround these big buildings and survive off these buildings. It's no longer there. It's gone. Now, the argument that I heard this morning, and I had to agree with it, is that this moving out of business and downsizing of businesses and offices started before the pandemic. You look at WeWorks and you look at Regus and you look at all of these companies that offer smaller spaces for less money than renting out 2, 3, 30,000, several thousand square feet to these companies. They started to downsize. And I did the same thing. I moved from 2,000 square feet down to 2 small 300 square foot offices in Burbank. I downsized. And we started doing that because we kind of saw the writing on the wall that, well, especially in California, it just was not going to be a viable market very much longer because of the taxes and the high costs of living and everything else. So companies began doing that way before the pandemic, but when the pandemic came along, it pushed more companies into doing that. And then when inflation went up, it forced even more companies to do that. And so people began working from homes. And so now we're in the point where maybe they'll go into an office for 2 times a week, but they'll work from their home the rest of the time. Now, do I believe that's good? No, I think that you need to have momentum. And that momentum comes from people working side by side together, being able to be mentored by someone, being able to go in and ask questions at any point in time. I mean, that's what an office is for. It is a community, and that community then supports the community around their offices. So, but that's not happening at the moment because now small restaurants are going out of business. The shoe shine place and repair shop is now out of business because there's no more business traffic coming from those office space. The tax accountant, like myself, I no longer need to be in there because I'm doing it from home. So we have this issue where you remember the term trickle down? Well, this is what trickles down when there is a black swan event of banks not being able to sustain their loans and for owners of these buildings not able to fill up their office space and create foot traffic on the street and every place else. The trickle-down effect is that it affects everybody. So we're seeing this more and more. And so this is what upsets me most, is that people out there say, oh, the economy's great, it's doing wonderful. But you've got all of these different little things. Well, they're not little, they're major catastrophes in the real estate market of commercial loans, in the banking side of commercial loans, in small businesses being affected by the high cost of doing business in the city anymore, and the criminal aspect of having a business in a city anymore. You've got all of these things happening, and you've got government sitting there, oh, well, we need to have more people walking the streets that should not be here, and we should pay for that. But how are they going to pay for it when there's no business no longer in downtown sections of the city? So I'm just bringing this up because I think it's an important fact that we all understand that when people in the government says the economy's good, we have to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and look at the economy as a whole and see that there are many aspects that are driving Americans into the hurt mobile because they're being hurt by all this. And that when government officials and when Wall Street says all this, it's a bunch of nonsense. It just really is a bunch of nonsense. Because we've got all these small businesses being affected, we've got banking, we've got real estate, commercial, we've got all of these things, little stores and mom and pop and the shoe shine place and the repair shop. Everybody's being affected because of what has happened in this damn bad economy. And that's what it is. It's a damn bad economy. We have to look better at what politicians are telling us, or trying to sell us, and what Wall Street is trying to sell us, because for them it may be good, because government can always print more money, Wall Street can always sell more stock in bonds. Because they don't care about how you and I are affected. What they care about is they need to keep making money. They need to keep bringing cash flow in. But by them being in that type of mindset, it affects us down here at the bottom. We used to be in the middle. Remember when we used to be in the middle class? We're no longer in the middle class anymore. We're now down at the bottom, and most Americans are now in this survival mode. Their credit cards are maxed out. They're living from paycheck to paycheck. And that's how America is struggling at the moment. So, when I talk about black swan events, we're talking about the Fed chairman coming out and talking about the commercial real estate and how it's affecting banks. Well, Wall Street is now starting to come out and talk about it. I have been talking about it for ages. Go back and read my blogs, and I'm telling you, I've been talking about it for ages. But now it's getting serious. So now the discussion is becoming even more serious. And it should have been talked about a long time ago. Because they all knew that this was going to happen. The people in the foreclosure markets, the real estate people, and the people who do the auctions, they have been preparing for it for a long time. But it's been slowly moving into that mode when now it's in a serious mode. It had to happen. I've been warning you about it for a long time. So, what we have to do, we still have to continue to manage our businesses as if we are in trouble. As if we could lose it tomorrow. We have to manage the way that we conduct our business and our personal finances as if tomorrow is going to be the worst day ever. I don't like to say that, but that's how we have to think. We have to do better planning. Don't look at what the government's doing. Don't look at what Wall Street's doing. Look about what we have to do to make our lives more financially secure. And if you need help, just let me know, because I help people with this all the time, going through your budgets and creating budgets and looking at a different way and a different approach on handling our personal finances. That's it for today. I'm tired. I'll talk with you soon. This is Mike Lodge, the Business Advisor. Bye-bye.